UK.
Two capitals, two leaders, and one sentence that could change the entire region. Bring it on. That was the mood in Tehran, and Washington turned up the heat here. You're watching Times XP. My name is WW3, and let's rewind a little bit. From the United States, Donald Trump issues a warning, loud, clear, and public. He says that if Iran moves ahead with its nuclear or missile plans, the response will be overwhelming military forces. No ambiguity here, no quiet diplomacy, just a threat broadcast to the entire world. Tehran didn't stay silent either. Iran's president, he responded, so did his senior military and political officials here. Their message? Attack us and you will regret it. Not a warning, a promise. Iran's language was carefully chosen. They spoke of regret including response. Not symbolic, maybe not limited. A response meant to hurt. Now let's pause here because this really matters. Iran insists that its missile program is purely defensive. They say it is built to protect the country, not threaten others. And Iran says one more thing very carefully, that this program is not up for any sort of negotiation, not with Trump, not with Washington, not with anybody else. Tehran also accuses the US of crossing a red line here. Iranian officials say that American demands violates existing international agreements. It violates past nuclear understanding and basic principles of sovereignty as well. In short, Iran's argument is simple. You don't get to decide our defenses here, and in the meantime, the rhetoric keeps rising here. Threats answered with threats, warnings answered with warnings. And history tells us that this is how miscalculation begins. That's why other powers are stepping in now. Russia is urging restraint. So are several global powers here. You know what's their fear is? Well, their fear is that one wrong move, one strike, one misread signal could ignite a regional firestorm. And remember the region we are talking about here, the Middle East. Already tensed, already armed, already fragile. Any US-Iran clash, it wouldn't be bilateral, right? It would ripple across Israel, the entire Gulf, Iraq, Syria. In the end, here is where it leads us. On a knife's edge, Washington says, don't test us. Tehran says that we are ready. Neither side is backing down. Both the sides believe that deterrence means strength here. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just tough talk. This is signaling, this is posturing, this is power politics. Live, public and dangerous, because when leaders, they stop whispering and start daring each other, the world, the entire world rather, everybody should pay attention. This standoff is far from over.
Amid reports of the mass protests in Iran turning deadly, President Trump now warning if Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States will come to the rescue, locked and loaded, and ready to go. A top Iranian security official warns American interference would lead to the destruction of American interests. Video circulating online shows the countrywide protests now ongoing for nearly a week. In this video, demonstrators marching, taking up an entire street. What started as protests against Iran's economic crisis, caused in part by sanctions imposed by the US and UN, has expanded into some protesters chanting, "Death to the dictator." Iran's president says their government is at fault for the economic crisis, telling Iranian officials not to blame the US. President Trump earlier this week asked if he would support overthrowing Iran's government.
I'm not going to talk about overthrow of a regime. They've got a lot of problems that are in. They have tremendous inflation. Their economy is bust. Their economy is no good. And I know that people aren't so happy.
This week, President Trump has been more vocal against Iran, threatening to, quote, knock them down if they try to rearm. Over the summer, the U.S. attacked 3 nuclear facilities in Iran. Perry Russom, ABC News, Washington.
The violent crackdown has begun. Over the weekend in western Iran, protesters tried to storm a police station in the town of Malekshai. 4 of them were killed, and according to state-affiliated media, 1 member of the security forces. 30 people were injured. Then on Sunday, Revolutionary Guards and police stormed a hospital nearby, which had demonstrators inside. According to human rights groups, at least 29 people have been killed since the protests began 10 days ago. And over 1,000 demonstrators have been arrested. The Grand Bazaar, Tehran, again one of the flashpoints today. News that the Iranian rial had reached a record low against the US dollar brought shop owners back out onto the streets. And in response, tear gas. Remember, this all started with electronics vendors shutting up shop in protest, a combination of the 12-day war with Israel last year, US sanctions and economic mismanagement has sent the value of the currency here into freefall. On a condition of anonymity, we've been speaking to small business owners and others in Tehran.
My company shrank and eventually I had to shut it down. My income dropped, my debts increased. Everything is so much more expensive. The anger of protesters today is justified because people cannot even afford to buy bread. I believe the protests will continue because in reality, this is a revolution of the hungry.
This woman is a mother of two. She hasn't taken to the streets of Tehran yet.
When life and death no longer make a difference to us, why should we be afraid? We have seen nothing from this regime except hunger, inflation, and misery.
At first, the regime said it would listen to voices like these, threw money at the problem, a small temporary living allowance introduced yesterday. But at the same time made it clear their patience was running out with the protests. And this is what that looked like in the city of Shahrokord today. This may have started as a retail revolt, but now it's about much more. That said, the numbers on the streets are not at the same level as they were during the giant demonstrations in Iran 4 years ago. Also, Iranian opposition is still in exile, in prison, or ineffective. The reasons these protests may be different, though, Iran's sphere of influence is degraded, and Trump has said that the US was, quote, locked and loaded if protesters were killed.
President Trump has been threatening to intervene in the protest in the manner that happened in June, and I think that makes this very different. So both the economic pressure on the government, the way it's looking at how it can react, but also in the way that the population sees the effectiveness or the utility of these protests is different before, because Iran was not in the circumstance that it is after the 12-day war.
Violence erupted on the streets of Malek-Shahi today. It came off the back of the funerals of some of those killed there at the weekend. But during the ceremony itself, the sound of mourning was replaced by this. Although towns like this have been economically neglected for years, it's still not the type of place you'd expect to hear so many chanting that. Something is shifting.
Hey, you having a good night? Just wanted to let you know that Russia is aggressively evacuating its diplomats from Israel right now. 3 flights in the last few hours. Well, the last 12 hours. You know, they did that about a week and a half ago in Venezuela. I don't know if you knew that. What does that mean, do you reckon? Iran? It's probably Iran, right? Or, I don't know. Good. Anyways, have a good night. Sorry to interrupt.
Iran's in big trouble. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. They've treated their people very badly, and now they're being paid back.
Iran is on the boil. As streets burn and protests spiral into riots, U.S. President Donald Trump openly hints at direct intervention, raising fears of a dangerous new confrontation. And as the chaos spreads, the Khamenei-led regime unleashes a brutal crackdown, branding protesters U.S. and Israeli agents and blaming them for terrorism and arson across the country. Posting on his Truth Social platform, the U.S. president wrote that Iran is looking at freedom, perhaps like never before, adding that the United States stands ready to help. The statement offered no details, but its timing was unmistakable. Trump's message came amid nearly 2 weeks of sustained protests across Iran and follows repeated warnings from him that Washington could act if Iranian authorities kill demonstrators. Just a day earlier, Iran's supreme leader broke his silence. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei directly targeted Trump, calling him arrogant and accusing him of having blood on his hands. Khamenei warned that history shows rulers are often overthrown at the height of their power. Khamenei then turned his criticism inward. He accused protesters of destroying their own cities to please the president of another country. The unrest, he claimed, was not organic, but driven by foreign interests. Iranian state media echoed that framing, portraying the demonstrations as a coordinated attempt to destabilize the Islamic Republic from abroad. Iranian outlets also reported a major security operation. Tasnim news agency said more than 200 alleged terrorist organizers of unrest had been detained. Authorities claimed large caches of weapons were seized, ranging from firearms and ammunition to grenades and Molotov cocktails. State media said the arrests were a key reason behind a reported decline in protest intensity. While Iran insists it is restoring order, Trump's message has added a volatile new layer. Washington has not outlined what help would look like, but Tehran is treating the statement as confirmation of foreign interference.
With mass arrests underway, protests continuing, and rhetoric hardening on both sides, Iran's unrest is no longer just a domestic crisis. It is becoming an international flashpoint.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has reportedly ordered the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps onto its highest state of alert as nationwide protests entered their 14th day. Senior Iranian officials told The Telegraph the level of readiness now exceeds that seen during last year's conflict with Israel. According to officials, Khamenei has placed his trust squarely in the IRGC, known as the Sepah, rather than the regular army or police. They say he believes the risk of defections within the guards is almost non-existent, unlike other security forces that have fractured during past unrest. One official described the moment bluntly. Khamenei has placed his fate in the hands of the IRGC. The guards are not just a military force, they are deeply embedded in Iran's economy, intelligence apparatus, and political system, making them the regime's most loyal pillar. Iranian officials also confirmed that underground missile cities have been activated. These fortified weapons complexes are designed to deter or respond to foreign threats, signaling that Tehran is preparing for both internal instability and external escalation at the same time. Officials dismissed reports that Khamenei might flee Iran if the situation worsens. One senior source said the supreme leader would not leave Tehran even if B-52s were flying overhead, underscoring the message that retreat is not being considered. A day earlier, Khamenei addressed the nation in a rare and unusually personal speech. He accused U.S. President Donald Trump of arrogance and bloodshed, claiming his hands were stained with the blood of more than 1,000 Iranians. He warned that history shows rulers are often overthrown at the height of their power. Khamenei also turned his fire inward, accusing protesters of destroying their own cities to please the president of another country. He framed the unrest as foreign-driven chaos, alleging that vandals were acting in service of U.S. interests, not Iran's people.
Last night in Tehran and a few other places, people came and did damage to their own buildings, ruining their own streets, in order to make the president of another country happy. Because he said that he would come to their aid, he should pay attention to the state of his own country instead. His hands are stained with the blood of more than 1,000 Iranians who were killed in the 12-day war, Israel-Iran conflict in 2025. His hand is stained with the blood of Iranians. Then he says I'm a supporter of the Iranian people. And people who are not thinking and have no sense listen to him and believe him. Setting fire to bins, to please him.
Allah Akbar! Allah! Allah! Marg bar Amerika! Marg bar Amerika! Marg bar
But the enemy did not stop after the 12-day war and started a terrorist warfare from within the country. They had prepared this from before. The plan was to win the military war and do the same from within the country. Because the war failed, this move abortive. But they restated the war and by taking advantage of the rightful demand of the people, ride the wave and committed all these crimes, and in fact entered a terrorist warfare.
چون اون شکست خورد این حرکتش ابتر ماند ولی 2 مرتبه با یک فاصله زمانی این جنگ رو آغاز کرد و با سوء استفاده از یک اعتراض به جای خواسته به حق مردم بر این موج سوار شد و این جنایت ها رو آفرید و در حقیقت وارد فاز جنگ تروریستی شد. یک توصیه هم به رئیس جمهور متوهم آمریکا دارم.
I also have an advice for the delusional president of the United States. Be careful that the advice you are receiving about attacking Iran are the same as the ones who told you that Mashhad has fallen. Therefore, so that you are not miscalculating, know that in case of an attack on Iran, the occupied lands Israel as well as U.S. military bases in the region will be our legitimate targets. And with all these clear confessions that you made about invading Iran, we will not limit ourselves to a reaction. We will act based on signs of threats. It was necessary to say this to you and all your allies in the region to avoid miscalculation, otherwise it'll be too late to regret.
که در قصد تجاوز نظامی به ایران کردی در چارچوب دفاع مشروط خود را محدود به واکنش پس از اقدام نمیدانیم و بر اساس نشانه‌های عینی تهدید اقدام خواهیم کرد لازم بود این را به شما و به همه همپیمانانت در منطقه بگویم که اشتباهی محاسباتی نکنید که پشیمانی سودی نخواهد داشت. الله اکبر الله مرگ بر آمریکا مرگ بر آمریکا مرگ بر